Hello, are we supposed to be able to see everyone else?
Yes, Cheryl.
Okay, because I don't see anyone else.
I see you, Cheryl.
You do? I don't see you.
I think you have to go up to layout.
Mm-hmm.
It says layout, go up there
Okay.
and just see how there's a thing that says show participants without witnessing. What is it? Name? I don't know, but you see that they have layouts.
Oh,
Click
I
on the
see.
TV.
Okay. Show participants.
Oh, also, moderator, I'm sorry, we need to promote Jason. But Jason is, I think, in now. So if you could please promote Jason.
Debbie, I see something that say late.
I will find him.
Stack. Should I have it on stack?
All right, Jason is on. There you are. We see you. All right, Your Honor.
No, I see everyone. I see everyone.
For the respective time, we'll get going. But Ricardo, if you could please announce when you join. Also,
Okay, I just got here. I'm fine.
oh, there you are. Hi, Ricardo.
How you doing?
Thank you, Ricardo. Okay, Your Honor. So before we turn back over to you, Judge Heather Rowan, I will take a roll call and to establish a quorum, and then we'll hand it back to you. So Maria.
Here.
Hi, Maria. Jig Patel. Hi, Jig.
I'm here.
Hi, Cheryl Butler.
Here.
Hi, Cheryl. Jose. We see you. Ricardo.
Here.
Hi, Ricardo. Nicole.
Here,
Hi,
thank
Nicole. Debbie Veal.
Here.
Hi, Debbie. Jason Wise.
Here, Sung, thank you.
Hi, Jason. And I'm here. All right, Your
President,
Honor.
can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I thought.
Perfect.
Okay, there you are. Thank you, Jose. All right, Your Honor, I am turning the meeting to you now. Go ahead and take over and let me know if you need any assistance in roll calls or anything, however you'd like to pursue.
Okay. Just a quick question. Are you taking the petitioners in the order that they appear in the agenda? Was that your intent?
We usually do that, but we leave it up to you, and we can do it whatever way that that's convenient and technologically possible.
Okay. And then the second thing is the hearings are being recorded today, and I just want to make sure that it is the board that is doing the recording of the proceedings.
Your Honor, the Department of Consumer Affairs is creating the recording, and the board will be given a copy of it at the end.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Is Ms. Trauma present?
Good afternoon, Deputy Attorney General Nicole Trauma, and I'm appearing on behalf of the Attorney General for the people of the state of California.
Good morning. I'd like to start with Mr. Poon's petition. He's the first on the agenda today. And Ms. Trauma, I received a request for a protective order. And I'm unclear if he wanted the entire petition packet to be subject to the protective order, or if he wanted the medical documentation that's listed in the order to be protected.
Only the medical documentation, which is confidential, should be subject to the protective order.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is ask you to tell me the pages of those documents, and then I will create a separate exhibit. If the petition packet is all one exhibit, then I will make the protected pages Exhibit 2 so that we can ensure the privacy there. The other thing is that I noticed in all of the petition packets, they have not been redacted. So we can talk about that later. I don't want to take too much time, but they're going to need to be redacted and resubmitted to OAH. So before we conclude with Mr. Poon, unless you know right now, I'll make a note of the page numbers and put those documents, those pages under seal, and I'll put them in Exhibit 2. Okay. Mr. Poon, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
All right. And are you, I'm going to try to change my settings here. Are you on video?
Yes.
Okay. There we go. Okay. Ms. Trauma, is there anything we need to address before we go on the record today?
No, Your Honor, I'm prepared to make my summary of the case.
All right. And Mr. Poon, you submitted documents to the board in support of your petition. Was there anything in that petition packet or anything missing from the petition packet that you intended the board to review?
I do have an email I sent to Lisa Chulino, but I'm not sure if that's relevant.
Okay, I don't know who that is, and is it something that you want the board to consider?
Yes.
Okay, so tell me who it is and what the email was.
So Lisa Chulino was an agent of the board of pharmacy. She was my point of contact if I had any questions. My early termination in 2014. So I emailed her and asked her certain questions concerning what my early termination entailed, and she called me and gave me answered my questions, which led to why I did not finish the transition with the board of, with the PRP program.
Okay, so it sounds like the statement that you submitted that is in the packet, you provided a lengthy explanation of why that happened. So I think that the email may just be, if it's just your questions, I think that you probably have covered that information in your statement. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Then without further ado, we will go on the record. We are on the record before the California Board of Pharmacy to review the petition for early termination of probation of James Poon, OAH number 2021-00. I'm going to start that over. 2021-000661. We are on the record before the Board of Pharmacy. My name is Heather Rowan. I'm an administrative law judge with the Office of Administrative Hearings. I've been assigned to preside over this matter. Prior to going on the record today, we established that there is a quorum of the board. I have received electronically a copy of the petition packet, and I thank the Attorney General's office for making that available. And may I take the appearance for the Attorney General, please?
Good afternoon, Deputy Attorney General Nicole Trauma, and I'm appearing on behalf of the Attorney General for the people of the state of California under Government Code Section 11522.
Thank you, Ms. Trauma. And Mr. Poon, you are representing yourself today, is that correct?
Correct.
So before we begin, I will give you a brief overview of the proceedings. I will first take a statement from Ms. Trauma about the history of this case. I will then turn to you to take your statement. I'll take your statement under oath, so I'll be swearing you in, taking your testimony, and then I'll open it up to first the Attorney General and then to the board for questions. If they have any questions of you, you will be answering those under oath as well. We'll conclude at that point. The board will deliberate after today's proceedings, and you will hear their decision. This decision, you'll hear of their decision after today. I think it's, I'm not sure the timeline, but after 30 days from today's date, you'll be informed of the board's decision. There will be no decision rendered today. Mr. Poon, do you have any questions before we begin?
No.
All right. If questions occur to you, please let me know. I cannot give you legal advice, but if you have procedural questions, I can try to help with that.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Ms. Trauma, I'm going to turn to you. Are you prepared to give an overview of the history of this matter?
Yes, Your Honor. We're here today.
Whenever you're ready.
Thank you. We're here today on a petition for early termination of probation. I think it makes most sense to take this case chronologically since there were a couple of different actions that have occurred over the last 10 years. So when petitioner first applied for a pharmacist intern license in 2009, it was denied by the board based on allegations that he had engaged in unprofessional conduct by using alcohol in a dangerous manner and for having convictions substantially related to the qualification, functions, and duties of a licensee. There were two convictions at issue in that statement of issues. The first was a June 25th, 2007 conviction for driving under the influence or driving with a blood alcohol content of 0.08% or more, and for approximately causing bodily injury to a person other than the driver after he was involved in a traffic collision. The second conviction was an October 4th, 2010 conviction for driving under the influence and driving while having a blood alcohol content of 0.08% or higher. Effective June 1st, 2011, the board granted his pharmacist intern license. However, that license was immediately revoked, stayed, and placed on probation for 4 years, subject to terms and conditions, including participation in the Pharmacist Recovery Program, or the PRP. Then on March 18th, 2014, petitioner appeared before the board on his petition for early termination of probation. At that hearing, petitioner represented to the board that he intended to complete the PRP and to continue with his AA program, even if his probation was terminated. Relying on that representation, the board granted the petition effective April 18th, 2014. Shortly thereafter, petitioner withdrew from the PRP program. Then, when petitioner applied for a pharmacist license in May of 2014, the application was denied and a statement of issues was filed. This alleged that petitioner had committed an act involving dishonesty, fraud, or deceit with the intent to substantially benefit himself or another, and committed an act that, if done by a licentiate, would be grounds for suspension or revocation of his license. Effective May 6, 2015, the board granted the pharmacist license. However, it was immediately revoked, stayed, and placed on probation for the time that it would take for him to finish through the transition phase of the PRP that he had already begun, plus an additional 1 year of probation after the successful completion of PRP. Petitioner told his probation from March 2018 to May 2019, and then again from April 2020 to December 2020 for a total of 24 months. Petitioner has been compliant with his quarterly reporting, his payment of probation costs, the prescription monitoring coordination, the community service, and ethics course. Petitioner completed the PRP on September 17th, 2021, and under the terms of his probation, he has 1 year from that date until his probation is completed. Petitioner has filed this instant petition seeking to terminate that probation. With his packet, petitioner submitted continuing education certificates taken from February 2019 through December 2020, 5 letters of recommendation, which were all verified, a comprehensive diagnostic evaluation from 2018, a report from therapist Raysberg, a confidential progress report from MFT Durazo, documentation from the Maximus program, and a personal statement. I'd now like to mark as Exhibit 1 the petition packet, which includes all of the documents that I described above, which were attached to the packet, the notice of hearing, and the memorandum to the board.
Okay, so as we discussed before we went on the record, you've requested a protective order for some of these documents. Do you have the page numbers that are subject to the protective order?
So they aren't Bates labeled, Your Honor, but I can give a specific description of each document that I seek to protect. The first document is the Comprehensive Diagnostic Evaluation that's dated February 26, 2018.
Okay. And so that entire document, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
The next document is the report from therapist Raysberg, and attached to that is an FMLA certification.
Okay. What's the last page of that? What is on the last page of that?
Of the certification, it says employee information. It has a petitioner's name and an employee ID number, and at the bottom on the right-hand side, it says confidential. And it has MFT Raysberg stamp.
Okay.
And then the next document is the confidential progress report of MFT Durazo.
That's 2 pages?
That's correct.
Okay.
And then the last document that we seek to protect is the Maximus treatment provider records. They're all marked Maximus confidential.
Okay. Okay, so okay, so I'm going to extract those pages from the petition packet. I'm just going to make a note for myself where they are. Okay. Mr. Poon, these documents you should be familiar with. Exhibit 1 is the non-protected documents, documents that have been submitted. Exhibit 2 are the protected documents that we just talked about. Do you have any objections to my admitting these exhibits?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, exhibits 1 and 2 are admitted. Exhibit 2 is protected. Ms. Trauma, I also noted before we went on the record that there are, I noticed just in my quick review of the documents that there is at least a birth date on the application for the petition for early termination. So that will need to be redacted, and I would ask you to go through the entire packet, make sure that that is the only thing, that there's no other personal identifying information. If it's on the protected pages, those don't need to be redacted because they won't be made public. Ms. Trauma, anything further?
Exhibit 3, Your Honor, would be the underlying decisions in order. There's 3 decisions. One was effective June 1st, 2011. Then there was the one effective April 18th, 2014. And then the last one was effective May 6th, 2015.
Okay, so petitioner submitted information regarding CE and letters, all those things, they end at what you are calling Exhibit 3, which is also not marked. Is that correct?
Exhibit 1, I was marking as the petition packet to include his CE's character reference, personal statement.
Okay. So then I've taken out, so Exhibit 1 is through the end of the personal information. Exhibit 2 is protected, and what you're saying is Exhibit 3 is the underlying, the disciplinary action, the underlying decisions.
That is correct, Your Honor. Yes.
Okay. Mr. Poon, any objections to what Ms. Sharma has labeled Exhibit 3?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, Exhibit 3 is admitted. Anything further, Ms. Sharma?
I just would like to note for the record that the board members and petitioner have been provided with a copy of all the same set of exhibits.
Okay, so then I would first state on the record that, and we'll talk about this later, that any protected documents, once the board is through with this proceeding today and deliberations, those documents should be destroyed, or whatever DC is and the board's policy is about those documents, and the official record will be sealed. Mr. Poon, did you intend to give a statement today?
Yes, I did.
Will you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
All right, thank you. So the board has reviewed the packet. They have all of the information that you submitted. So I would caution you not to reiterate everything that you have provided the board already. But if you would like to make a statement to the board regarding your rehabilitation and a brief statement regarding why you believe your petition should be granted, this is your opportunity to do that. And remembering that you'll be also subject to questioning after your statement. So I will leave it to you whenever you're ready.
Okay. My name is James Poon. Happy holidays, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to be heard at this hearing today. 10 years ago, I started this journey in the PRP program, and during these past 10 years, I have matured and learned a lot about myself, and the reason why the Board of Pharmacy thought it was correct placing me into the program. Looking back, there is no doubt I was a danger to myself and the general public if I continue on the path of drug use with my addiction to alcohol. It was during this time in the Maximus program, when I first entered the program in 2011, that I first started to follow the teaching of Alcohol Anonymous. Slowly, I saw that my life was getting better. I had better relationship with my friends, my family, and my coworkers. I was more in touch with my feelings and emotions and how I reacted to external forces. I have a lot to be thankful for due to the intervention that the board took back in 2011. I can truly say that the Board of Pharmacy changed my life for the better. In the past 10 years, a lot have changed. I am now a father to the best kid in the world, a loving husband to my wife who has stuck to me through thick and thin. I am no longer the young and reckless kid I was back then. I am more calculated with my behavior and my actions, both in my professional life and in my personal life, because I know these actions can have unforeseen consequences. I need to be more calculated because I have so much more to lose. Finding my bottom at an early age has cemented this concept. I never ever want to be where I was a decade ago. My 10 years of sobriety is a testament to this fact. I sit here today before the members of the board requesting that I be released from my probation. so that my family and I can enjoy what it feels to be normal again. I have consistently checked in and made myself available for random drug tests for the past 3,000 plus days, while in the Maximus program and in the board program. Never missing a check-in and never having a positive test. I have assumed all responsibilities of my probation with the cost of PRP in addition to all the other costs such as therapy, ethic courses, and a comprehensive diagnostic evaluation by some of the top addictionist specialists in the field. It is my belief that I no longer need the safeguards of the Maximus program or the BOP. I no longer pose a risk to the public, in my opinion. My request for early termination was granted in 2014, and I have demonstrated that I have rehabilitated myself ever since that day, with my dedication to sobriety. I have broken no laws since my second DUI conviction in 2010 and will continue to honor the business code and professional code of conduct set forth by the Board of Pharmacy. The board committee changed a part of the stipulation when I re-entered probation in 2016. My lawyer Van Lee and I structured an agreement with the then supervising deputy attorney Diane Sokofflov in 2014 so that I can enter into transition of the PRP program without repeating the whole Maximus program. I also agreed to remain in probation for an additional year with the BOP once I finish transition so that my case can be resolved without going to hearing. This agreement can be seen on the first paragraph of my disciplinary order. I took responsibility for what happened after my first early termination hearing with the Board of Pharmacy and was ready and willing to serve out the remainder of my term. At this point, I'm ready to answer any questions that the board members might have.
Thank you, Mr. Poon. I'm going to start with Ms. Trauma for questions, and then we'll move to the board's questions. Ms. Trauma, any questions for Mr. Poon?
A few, thank you. On page 3 of your statement to the board attached to your petition, you stated that your licensing request was denied because the Board of Pharmacy claimed you did not finish your recovery program with Maximus when I told the members of the pharmacy board that you would if you had granted an early termination. But it wasn't just a claim, was it? That's what happened.
It's not a claim. It's what happened. It's factual. I'm
Okay.
not contending that that's
And
statement.
are you still going to AA right now?
I attend AA online.
And do you plan to continue with the AA program for the rest of your life?
I do it 2 to 3 days a week, but I mean, I have other obligations and I can't make that promise to the board. But I have 10 years of sobriety under my belt, and I have a lot of tools and resources I can reach out to
If
if I ever needed to.
If your petition was granted, would you stop going to AA?
No.
Are you an alcoholic?
I am.
Okay. Can you explain why you marked no to the question on your petition that asks whether you are or have ever been intemperate in the use of alcohol or other drugs?
I think when I petitioned for my license, renewal of my license, those normally have a time frame, right? Within the last 2 years or with whatever. I haven't touched alcohol since 2011.
So the petition that you filed for early termination of probation, there was a question on there that asked you whether you are or have ever been intemperate in the use of alcohol or other drugs. What did you mark?
Did you say I marked no?
Is that what you marked?
I don't remember. If I did, I am sorry. I would put yes. Maybe I misunderstood the question. Sorry.
So you misunderstood the question?
Yeah.
Okay. What is your date of sobriety?
5/4/2011.
I noticed one of your character references, or sorry, one of the letters you provided from MFT Robert Durazo. Who is that?
He is my health support group monitor.
In his report, he states in 2 different spots that you've been sober since April of 2011. Do you know why he thinks your date of sobriety is April 2011 and not May 2011?
I'm not sure.
Have you had any relapses at all since May of 2011?
No.
And have you been able to determine what your triggers are?
Yes.
What are they?
Heated arguments, unfair judgments, I feel sometimes. That's about it.
Heated arguments and unfair judgments are what triggered you to abuse alcohol?
Yes.
And how do you plan to prevent a relapse in the future?
I work my program on a daily basis. I know how to check my emotions, and I know things that I can work on and things that I can't change. And I have a great support system with my friends, family, who has been by my side since the beginning of this program. And I rely on their guidance whenever I need to.
And do you feel like you've taken responsibility for the conduct that led to these various board actions in this case?
Yes.
Can you explain why you think you've taken personal responsibility?
On top of having to check in every day for my random drug tests, I've done all the things that the board have asked of me, all the things that are on my stipulation, like ethics courses, pay my fines with the board, with the courts. Just everything that the board asked me, I have done in a timely manner. I've never missed anything.
In your petition, you submitted a comprehensive diagnostic evaluation. And in that evaluation, your worksite monitor, Ms. Kita, was interviewed and said that you were slow to admit mistakes and tended to blame others when it was plainly your fault. Do you think that that fairly described who you were back in 2018 when this report was issued?
Yes.
And are you still that way?
No.
And tell us how you've changed and why.
I've taken longer times to think of my actions and what other people are saying, and I will admit fault when they are correct. And I have worked on that every day. I'm not a perfect person.
That diagnostic evaluation, there was also interviewed your group facilitator, and they said that you had a tendency to resist authority, particularly when you see yourself being treated unfairly. Do you think that that fairly described you back in 2018?
Yes.
And do you feel like that describes you now?
Yeah, I'm human. I mean, I have emotions. When someone does something I think is wrong, my first reaction will be to react, but I have learned how to, tone down those reactions. And I mean, it's just, we're not 100% of our control of our emotions sometimes. And I mean, being in the Maximus program, sometimes we are our own defenders. I mean, there's no one watching out for us except ourselves. I mean, this program takes a lot out of you mentally and physically. And I have reacted to certain outside stimulus, but I mean, I'm only human. I can't just shove it off and go, that's okay, because sometimes it's not okay. Sometimes we have to talk it out with our friends or family or our counselors or, our health support group monitors, And I think those are healthy ways for us to deal with these, some kind of deal with these problems, I think. And I've taken that step. I have reached out to everyone when I feel there's a problem, and I talk it out with people. That's what we're taught. and that's what I'm doing.
When you say that the Maximus program takes a lot out of you mentally and physically, what do you mean by that?
It's like living a Groundhog's Day, I think, for me. I mean, every day I wake up at 5 a.m. to check to see if I have to do a random drug test. On my wedding day, when I'm planning a vacation, no day is special. We have to report regardless of what happens. There is no, oh, you could miss a test, that's okay. No, every day we have to check. Every day we have to test if they call on us. And that is very stressful. I mean, and I've learned to deal with that. I mean, that's just a part of our program. And I know that's just part of our journey. That is one of the, I think, most stressful thing that anyone could go through. And I've done 10 years of that, 3,000 consecutive days of that. And I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of anyone who could accomplish that.
So there's quite a bit of monitoring with the PRP program, right?
Correct.
Yeah, and you don't have to do that any longer. Is that right?
I still have to check in with the board. I still have to do random drug tests. That
Okay.
hasn't changed.
And can you explain what your plans are if your probation is terminated?
Just be normal with my family. I mean, go visit my family in Asia. Spontaneous, take my wife out and not worry about drug tests. You know, just maybe go to like Oregon or just travel somewhere nice. There is no spontaneity with this program. Everything has to be planned down to the last minute detail. You have to know where you're testing. You have to know if they're ready for you to test. You have to change or make changes on the day. It's that kind of pressure is daunting for anyone, I think. And living that life for the last 10 years is really hard, I think.
But
So I would welcome a change in that. Just being able to travel, just being able to live normally with my wife and my family.
would you say, though, that the PRP was essential in helping you in your recovery?
Of course, I think it's a great tool, a great way the board needs to exert their influence on practitioners who violate the rules. We are all babies in the beginning. We all need rules and regulations, and you have to be hard for the practitioners to understand that, yeah, you're going to lose your license if you don't do what is said. I love my first year in Maximus. Even though I didn't like it back then, I look back on it now, I'm like, they were right. I needed that kind of stern, authoritarian, kind of discipline. Everyone does.
I just had one other question. You stated in your petition that you took some leave from your pharmacist position at Walgreens from 2019 to 2020. Why did you take leave?
So my son was born March of 2018, and I took leave for a few months, hoping I was going to go back. But then my stipulation changed with the board, where my monitoring requirement changed, and from 20% to 50%. So it was not. So Walgreens did not have an opportunity for me to return with that kind of stipulation. They did not have overlapping pharmacists that work 50% of the time with each other. Rarely would you find any pharmacy with that kind of overlap.
And do you know why it went up from 20 to 50%?
So I broke one of the stipulations with the board. I was supervising an intern when I was not supposed to.
Nothing further.
Thank you, Ms. Trauma. I'm going to move to the board members now. I unfortunately didn't note if anyone was missing, so I'm going based on the list on your website, so hopefully that works out. Dr. O, do you have questions for Mr. Poon?
Thank you, Your Honor. I do have a few questions, and thank you, Dr. Poon, for coming. I certainly understand you had a long history of very complicated case here upon us. So with that, I am quite curious on some background. I see here the stipulation originally was in 2015. And I see here that you do complete the PRP on September 17th of 2021. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Can you just explain to me in just your words what happened and what took so long for that to complete?
So my stipulation, how I structured it with my lawyer was I was supposed to enter the PRP program and finish my transition because I had already finished all the requirements needed to enter into transition before my early termination. And even during my early termination notice, they said you need to finish transition. So I was thinking, once I signed the stipulation with the board, I finish PRP and do an additional year. But once I started my second PRP program, I had to redo the whole program. It was like paying double jeopardy for a crime that I did before, which at that time I thought was very unfair. And I spoke to the committee about it, but then they just brushed me off and brushed my lawyer off. But I don't have the political or the financial capital to fight that. And I was afraid to lose my license. So I was like, I'll just finish the PRP program again. That's not a problem. I don't have a problem with signing in for, drug tests. I know I'm going to be negative. So I just continue with the PRP program. So it took 5 years the second time around to finish it.
Okay. And so it all, to me, it's just that the going back to your intern license, that 1 year or however it would have taken for you to complete it, what was your thinking then of not completing it? What went on? What was going on there?
So I got my decision April 18th of 2014. I emailed Lisa Chulino, who was the agent of the board. My specific questions were, let me see, I'll bring up that email and I'll read it to you guys. So I emailed her, Dear Lisa, my name is James Poon. I have a few questions concerning my license. Since my license has been fully restored, I was wondering what this really means. How does this affect my PRP program and all the AA meetings, health support group meetings, and drug tests that I have to do on a daily basis? I am still restricted in terms with all the conditions of my recovery program in the PRP program. That was my question. I would really want to travel outside of the country to see my wife and my family that are in Hong Kong. Does this mean I can start traveling? Thank you for all your time. I look forward to response. And she called me back like a day or two afterwards and said, since the PRP program is a agent or they do so since Maximus acts as an agent of the Board of Pharmacy and do all the enforcement part of the PRP, once my early termination was granted, I no longer needed to finish the transitional phase of my original probation. That's my conversation with Lisa. That's what spurred me to call Maximus and say, oh, this is what one of the agents said. This is my point of contact with the board. And if they told me that, why would I need to finish the PRP program? That was my thinking at that point.
Do you regret it now?
I regret not having that verbally communicated through an email, yes. Because it would prove to the board that I was not lying. I had no intention to not finish PRP. And it was only another year. I had less restrictions. And
You said
Well,
you don't regret not completing it, or
no,
you
I,
you
re I regret not having my conversation with Lisa on the record through an email where I can show the judge if I went to hearing, or where I can show the committee members during my my meeting with them when I had to re-enter the PRP program. And I do regret not finished transitioning for the last year because it was easy. I had to redo this program and it took me another 5 years. Doing another year wouldn't have not been an issue. I didn't have any issues with alcohol after my early termination. I had no issues with alcohol during the last 5 years, and I will continue to have no issues with alcohol moving forward.
okay? And are you currently working, or what's your status with work?
Yes, I am currently working with CVS.
Okay. All right. No further questions for me at this point, Your Honor.
Thank you, Dr. O. Mr. Poon, I didn't hear that last thing. Did you say you're working with CVS?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Serpa, are you present?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you have any questions for Mr. Poon?
Just a comment for Dr. Poon. I wanted to thank him for his long and detailed letter, his open letter. It really helped to explain a lot of the details that were in the package, and for your testimony today. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Patel?
I just wanted to thank Dr. Poon for his testimony.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Ms. Butler?
I also would like to thank Dr. Poon for his testimony and all the questions I did have on the cold trauma actually addressed those. So I'm okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. De La Paz?
No questions or comments from you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Kim?
She's not present, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Sanchez?
Yes, I would also like to thank Dr. Poon for showing up and taking some of these questions, and wish him luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Jabot?
Yes, thank you. I did have a question for Dr. Poon. First, I wanted to say thank you for coming before us today and for sharing your story. You displayed a lot of vulnerability, and there's still a lot of stigma around alcoholism and addiction in general, so thank you for that. And congratulations on 10 years of sobriety. That's a wonderful accomplishment. My question for you was, I'm not sure if I believe you were present for our earlier part of the meeting, and we discussed the pressures that are seen in the workplace. You outlined the support system that you have, but as a fellow pharmacist, I know that sometimes in the middle of the day, you can't necessarily stop and leave the floor to engage those support systems. We've also seen, maybe an increase in people's agitation as we're getting farther into COVID. So what tools have you been using during this time to help you get through the day, to get past that moment until you can reach out to your support system?
Well, luckily I work at a pharmacy that has great staffing. And I had a lot to be thankful for. My PIC is great. He's there whenever I need to talk to him. But I mean, if I don't have any support system during that time, I would text, or we have time to text. We have time to, take a break, right? We have all that extra time. So, I mean, if I ever encounter, let's say a disgruntled customer or some insurance issue that come up or some rude customer on the phone, I mean, we could just take a step back. It's how we react to those situations, right? We can't control the external forces, but we can control how we, as a pharmacist or as a person, react to that. And I have learned through my years of, sobriety and being in the Maximus program, how to maneuver through those hard times. And I would not be sober today if I wasn't able to do that.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing, and I'm glad that you have that support system.
Thanks for your question, Nicole.
All right, thank you. Have I missed any board members? Oh, I'm sorry. Ms. Veal.
Hi, Dr. Kuhn. One question to start off. Did you say you are currently employed by CVS?
Correct.
Okay. Since I'm also a CVS employee, I'll be recusing myself from the vote. But congratulations on your sobriety, and thank you for coming today.
Thank you, Deborah.
Thank you. Mr. Weiss.
I'll round it out, Your Honor. Hi, Dr. Poon. I just want to congratulate you on your 10 years of sobriety, and I thank you for appearing before the board today.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Briefly, does any other board member have any follow-up to Mr. Poon? Okay. Ms. Trauma, any further questions for Mr. Poon?
Nothing further.
Ms. Trauma, how, if I give you a day to submit redacted documents, is that sufficient, or would you like, I can give you until Monday or Tuesday to get those redacted and submitted?
Monday would be great.
Monday. Okay, that is December 6th.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you all for your participation today. Mr. Poon, as I said, no decision will be rendered today. You will get a decision in writing from the board. This matter will be submitted on December 6th at close of business, at which time the record will close. We are off the record. So I just want to note that even though the matter won't be submitted until Monday, the board will be deliberating today. The record is only open to allow for some corrections in the petition.
Thank you.
Mr. Poon, thank you very much. You're free to go.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Happy holidays.
You too. Thanks. Okay. I'm going to move to Ms. Park, and if I don't have your name correct, I'm sorry. I'm not sure if it's the entire name, Jin Hee Park, Jessica.
This is the moderator. Let's give Jessica just a moment. I have promoted her to a panelist.
Hello, yes, that's correct.
Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I am well, thank you. All right. Ms. Trauma, is there anything we need to address before we go on the record in this matter?
Nothing, Your Honor.
All right. And Ms. Park, I have the petition packet that was provided to me that you should be familiar with. Are these documents everything that you intended the board to review?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Okay, let's go on the record. We are on the record before the California Board of Pharmacy to review the petition for early termination of probation of Jessica Jin Hee Park, OAH number 2021-110621. My name is Heather Rowan. I'm an administrative law judge with the Office of Administrative Hearings. I have been assigned to preside over this matter. Prior to going on the record today, we established that a quorum of the board is present. May I take the appearance for the Attorney General's office, please?
Good afternoon, Deputy Attorney General Nicole Trauma. I'm appearing on behalf of the Attorney General for the people of the state of California under Government Code Section 11522.
Thank you, Ms. Trauma. And Ms. Park, you are present and representing yourself today, is that correct?
Yes.
Were you present for the petition hearing just prior to yours?
Yes.
Okay, so you had a chance to view the proceedings. We'll do the same thing. I will start with Ms. Trauma. I'll swear you in and take your statement, and then we'll move to questions. No decision will be rendered today, okay?
Okay.
Any questions before we begin?
No.
Okay. Questions occur to you as we go, please let me know. I can't give you legal advice, but I can help you with the procedure. Ms. Trauma, whenever you're ready.
Yes, Your Honor. We're here today on a petition for early termination of probation. The underlying accusation filed on March 7th, 2017 alleged that Pharmacist Park violated laws and regulations governing the practice of pharmacy. The violations included commission of acts involving moral turpitude, dishonesty, fraud, deceit, or corruption, violation of statutes of California and the United States regulating controlled substances and dangerous drugs, and violated or attempted to violate the provisions, the terms of the chapter, and the applicable federal and state laws and regulations governing pharmacy. The circumstances were that in or around October 2015, Pharmacist Park stole a bottle of Adderall containing 100 tablets from her work, Kaiser Permanente. Initially, she denied taking the bottle of Adderall home, but then during a subsequent interview, she stated she saw the empty bottle near her workstation, somehow took a full bottle of Adderall home instead of an empty one. But then later, in a letter from Pharmacist Park to her pharmacist in charge, she admitted to taking a full bottle of Adderall containing 100 tablets, but stated that she took the bottle of Adderall to use as a prop for a friend's Halloween costume. Pharmacist Park also has a prior citation from January 2015, where she was an intern pharmacist. This citation was based off her conviction for driving under the influence in December of 2014. Pursuant to a stipulation and order effective June 13th, 2018, Pharmacist Park's license was revoked, the revocation was stayed, and her license was placed on probation for 5 years. She was required to comply with all standard terms and conditions of probation and to complete an ethics course. She has completed 3.5 of the 5-year probationary term. Her probation set to expire in 2024. To date, she has been compliant with the terms and conditions of her probation, including payment of her costs, completion of her ethics course, and her quarterly reporting. She's filed the instant petition for early termination of probation, and included in that packet are continuing education certificates taken from March 2020 through May 2020, 4 letters of recommendation, all verified, and a personal statement on her own behalf. I'd now like to mark as Exhibit 1 the petition packet, which includes her continuing education certificates, the letters of recommendation, and her personal statement, as well as the notice of hearing and the memorandum to the board. Request that be marked as Exhibit 1.
Ms. Park, are you familiar with the documents Ms. Trauma is introducing?
Yes.
Any objections to my admitting this document?
No.
Exhibit 1 is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. And I'd like to mark as Exhibit 2 the prior decision in order in this case. Request that that be admitted.
Ms. Kuhn, any objections to Ms. Trauma's labeled Exhibit 2, the case history?
No.
Exhibit 2 is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. The board members and petitioner have all been provided with the same set of exhibits. It's now petitioner's opportunity to address the board.
Okay, regarding Exhibit 1, I'm going to give you the same opportunity to redact. I'd like you to review the document and redact any personally identifying information, including on the petition. Ms. Park, did you want to give a statement today?
Yes.
Will you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Park, whenever you're ready, I will take your statement.
Okay. Hi, my name is Jessica Park, and I first and foremost want to thank you for allowing me to be here today. And I also want to apologize for being in this position to have to be here today. Back in 2015, I was working as an outpatient pharmacist at Kaiser, my first job as a pharmacist since graduating from pharmacy school in 2014. At that time, my entire identity was being a pharmacist. I had basically been in school my entire life and felt like I had worked so hard to achieve this goal of being a pharmacist, but when I finally got there, I almost felt even more lost. I felt as if I had worked so hard all these years, but when finally working as a pharmacist, I felt very unsatisfied and unfulfilled. I almost felt as though I was using nothing I had learned in school and didn't feel as though I was making an impact on patients in any way. I felt even more isolated and lost as most of my coworkers were about 20 to 30 years older than me, and most of my classmates were in their first year of residency and seemed to be truly making a difference in patients' lives. Because at the time my identity was solely a pharmacist, I just felt this overwhelming sense of dissatisfaction and really couldn't imagine feeling like this for the rest of my career. At that time, I had also, in 2014, had gotten a DUI, which was completely out of my character. Drinking is not something that I do regularly. I was actually out celebrating for passing the board, and it was getting late, and I decided to drive home, which I shouldn't have. Also around this time where I was feeling very dissatisfied with my career and feeling just very disappointed in myself for something I never even imagined, I had the opportunity to try to work inpatient pharmacy. Someone I knew was working at a small community hospital and asked if I wanted to experience inpatient pharmacy. I never thought I would have the opportunity to experience inpatient pharmacy without a residency, so I thought this was a great chance. So I applied for a per diem position, but was offered a full-time position instead. And I was left with the choice to either leave Kaiser and try inpatient pharmacy, but at the time I had no idea what inpatient pharmacy would be like, if I would like it or hate it, and I had been so disillusioned by what I had experienced with outpatient pharmacy. I was afraid I might experience that with inpatient pharmacy. And everyone I spoke to seemed to think I was crazy to think about leaving a company like Kaiser. And I didn't want to disappoint anyone. And my manager at the time at Kaiser in Simi Valley was someone who I really looked up to, almost as like a mother figure. And I didn't want to disappoint her. And I think I was afraid to make a decision myself and have it something that I regretted. And just with all these thoughts in my mind and the state that I was in, I just acted in a very impulsive, irrational manner and, in a way, self-sabotaged my own career. It's almost as if I wanted to make it so I didn't have a choice but to leave Kaiser. So I acted in a way I would not have otherwise. It's kind of hard for me to clearly remember the exact moments of that day. I just remember feeling so unhappy, and I was at a pharmacy that was not my home pharmacy. And I think I just acted in a way that doesn't make any sense at all. I think I was looking for a way out, but just didn't know how to go about it. And my brain just shut down, and I did not think of anything. I didn't think anything through and kind of just acted out of impulse. And this wasn't planned or premeditated, and I didn't have any time to think about what it could do to my career. I was very, very naive and early in my career and never could have imagined the consequences that came with this action. This whole experience has been both kind of a shock and a nightmare for me, to say the least. I was battling something very personal and intrinsic. it somehow got translated into physical action that made zero sense. But I do think the one thing I'm very grateful for is that it allowed me to realize what a privilege it is for me to hold a pharmacist license. Although I wish I didn't have to experience this to realize it. Fortunately, after leaving outpatient pharmacy, I was able to start work quite immediately at the inpatient pharmacy, and I am truly grateful for my job every single day. Once I processed and worked through what I had been feeling, I took work and my profession very seriously and was truly able to say that I loved my job. I don't think it was the job itself that made me feel this way. I think it was because I had a new mindset and found my passion for pharmacy once again. I was also so very fortunate to meet my director of pharmacy, who really inspired me as a leader in pharmacy and taught me what it means to be a pharmacist and how pharmacists could really make a difference in patients' lives, even with tasks that seem quite trivial. It was truly a blessing that he recognized my character from the beginning and took a chance on me as well, even when my probation status was determined. Since then, I have been working as an inpatient pharmacist, and I have worked very hard to accept that I made a huge mistake in 2015 and have tried very, very hard to not let that get me down, but to work harder and to become an even better pharmacist. I was able to gain the respect of my pharmacy director very early on and have worked very closely with him on various projects within the hospital, and was even able to win the Pharmacist of the Month award in 2018. I would like to say my actions in 2015 do not reflect my character in any way, and I would love to move on from this incident. I have completed about 3.5 years of my probation with no issues and have complied with everything required by the board. Again, I do want to apologize for placing myself in this position. I never meant to dishonor our profession in any way. I do take the profession of pharmacy very seriously and respect all of my colleagues in this profession, and I hope I can do my part in moving this profession forward. My respect for pharmacy has only grown since then, and I am fully aware of the privilege I have to hold a license as a pharmacist. I can say that I have definitely learned my lesson, and I'm here today to ask for early termination so I can do my part and contribute in making changes to better our profession. I know that the board is focused on protecting the safety of citizens, and I can confidently say that I take patient safety very seriously and would never do anything to put anyone in a dangerous or harmful situation. I take my job and profession very seriously and can only hope to be given the chance to practice with a clean license. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Park. Ms. Trauma, questions for Ms. Park?
Thank you. Pharmacist Park, your petition goes into great detail about your underlying conduct. Was there something in particular why you chose Adderall as opposed to another medication or item in the pharmacy?
No, at that time, that's the only, well, I wasn't sure of, I didn't know of any other drugs. The control, I wasn't familiar with people abusing any other drugs. And I think I just chose the one that had a full bottle.
So was it that you chose Adderall, or was it you just chose the first thing in the C2 cabinet?
No, I just chose the first thing.
Okay. Did you ever reimburse Kaiser for the cost of the drugs that you took?
I don't think I was required to.
Okay. You stated in your petition that you didn't tell your employer about taking the Adderall and that you felt you needed to make up a story to make them understand that you weren't taking the medication from the pharmacy for an unsavory or illegal purpose. But you'd agree that stealing controlled substances from your employer is illegal and unsavory, right?
Yes.
Okay. You've been on probation about 3.5 years now. How, if at all, has probation helped you to become a better pharmacist?
Being on probation has made me realize what a privilege it is to hold a pharmacist license. I never once thought about that I would even be or have a chance to lose my license. I never thought that far about it. Ever since this happened, every day I'm so grateful to be able to work as a pharmacist, and I don't take that privilege lightly. And I think it's just given me such a big and huge respect for what the license means and what it means to be able to have that license.
And what about the ethics course that you took as part of your probation? What did you learn from that?
I learned that it kind of helped me see that if I was dealing with something, that there are other outlets for me to go to. I know ethics-wise, I did like a very, very non-ethical thing. It's completely out of my character, and I knew that it was wrong. It's not something that I thought would be okay. It's just something that I did out of impulse and knowing that it was wrong. So that was my mistake.
Now, you stated in your petition that you're relocating to Orange County. When will you be relocating?
So I recently got married this past year, and my husband's job, we had to move to Orange County. We actually moved 2 months ago. So I've been kind of moved like here on and off. My parents still live in LA, so I'll stay with them for a couple of days and then come to Orange County when I can.
Okay, and are you still working at the Sherman Oaks Hospital?
Yes.
Okay. And are you planning on staying there after you relocate to Orange County?
I'm hoping to look for another job, which is another reason why I would like to look for another job with a clean license. But I'm hoping to find a job closer to my home.
Okay, and is that going to be outpatient?
No, it would be inpatient.
And you stated in your petition that you stole the Adderall from your employer because you felt stuck. What happens if you feel stuck in another job? What's to prevent you from self-sabotaging behavior such as stealing drugs?
I think I am much more mature now, and I'm in a much more healthier mental state. Again, at that time, I think I was just already in such a bad place because of what had happened with my DUI, and I just felt like I had completely just done something, and I had been so disappointed in myself, and I felt like in my job I wasn't making a difference, and I was just not in a good state. Whereas now I'm much more mentally mature. I have worked now. I have experience working, and I know what it entails to work as a good pharmacist, and I have my support system and my friends to rely on if things get hard or if I face a situation where I need to have an outlet.
At this stage, are there any practice restrictions that prevent you from doing what you want to do?
Practice restrictions, I don't have any practice restrictions other than that I can't supervise interns or be PIC. But I would just like to move on with a clean license, especially when I'm trying to transition to a different job.
Okay. Do you find it difficult to comply with probation at all, or is it relatively been easy for you?
No, it's been fine.
Okay. I have nothing further.
Thank you, Ms. Sharma. We will go to questions from the board, and I will start with Board President, Dr. O.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have no questions, and thank you for coming. Dr. Park, good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Serpa.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank Dr. Park for her testimony, and I have no questions.
All right, thank you. Mr. Patel.
I have no comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Butler?
Thank you, Dr. Park, for your honesty. I have just one question here. Have you ever taken a controlled substance that you were not given a prescription for?
No, I have not.
Okay, that's all I needed to know. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Butler. Mr. De La Paz?
Well, thank you, Dr. Park, for your testimony. I have no questions.
Thank you. I didn't write this down. Is Ms. Kim present?
She's not, Your Honor.
Okay, I'll write it down this time. Mr. Sanchez?
Yes, I'd like to say thank you, Dr. Park, for coming before the board, and also wish you luck in your endeavors, and hope everything works out, and thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Thibault?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Park, for your testimony today and for your explanation about what happened. That was very insightful. There was just one piece that stuck out to me a little bit that I was hoping you could clarify. I think you mentioned that you didn't necessarily comprehend the seriousness, maybe was the way you put it, of taking a controlled substance. However, I've generally experienced the opposite. Most pharmacists coming out in the relatively recent time frame coming out of pharmacy school are almost scared of controlled substances. They're very cautious around them, that they've, because of the opioid crisis, we're all kind of taught to be extra concerned. So could you maybe clarify your position? Did you not have those feelings around controlled substances, or did you maybe select a controlled substance because of that?
No, I definitely knew how important it was about controlled substances. I think at the moment, though, it didn't register to me in my head the consequences of my license. I don't think I was even thinking that far. I was just thinking of how to get myself out of that situation, that it didn't even register to me in that moment what consequence it could have on me and my license. But I definitely knew that there was the controlled substance, the regulations were very important.
I understand. So you're saying in that moment, you understood, yes, generally speaking, but in that moment you were in a mind state that wasn't what you were thinking about. I understand. Thank you.
Ms. Veal?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Park. So you in one of your explanations to someone, you said that you stole the medication as a Halloween prop. So was it Halloween time? I mean, I don't understand that.
Yes, so at the time, it didn't really make sense to me either what I had done. So in order for it to kind of make sense, I did say that because I was still trying to understand how I was in possession of the medication, and I was still processing as to why I had done what I had done, and it didn't make any sense. So I tried to come up with something that would make sense. When I was talking to my manager, again, that was something I shouldn't have done, but I was still in a very confused state and trying to understand what led me to do the action that I did.
And I guess to that point, because you kind of did two things fairly close here that it sounds like was totally out of your character. That's the DUI, and then this random stealing of Adderall. Did you seek any help, like therapy, to try to understand why you would, do these things to yourself?
Yes, I did go to therapy. after the incident, and to try to process and work through why I had done something like this, something very irrational and very out of character. And I went to therapy with my therapist, and that definitely helped me to kind of understand what I was feeling at the moment.
So you feel confident that should you get yourself in a pickle, as you did at that point in your life, that this kind of behavior, you know how to deal with it going forward?
Yes.
And did the therapist give you any other, a way to, like, can you just give me, like, how would you deal with it? I mean, what would you do differently if you could go back and you were feeling those feelings?
I think I would talk to my mom more about it. I think at the time I was just so afraid of disappointment, and I didn't really want to share what I was feeling. But I'm at a very different place now.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for your honesty.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Field. And last but not least, Mr. Wise, any questions for Ms. Park?
I just thank you, Dr. Park, for appearing before the board today. Congratulations on the nuptials.
Thank you.
Briefly, any board members have any follow-up questions? Ms. Trauma, anything further?
Your Honor, I would like to make a couple of closing remarks, if I may.
Okay, briefly.
Yeah, petitioner has completed 3.5 of the 5 years of her probationary term, and she has been compliant and does appear remorseful. But nevertheless, the actions underlying the accusation are very serious. She stole a bottle of controlled substances from her employer and then made up a strange story to try to cover it up. And this occurred not long after she received a citation from the board for being convicted of DUI. And the board's petition for early termination form states that early release from probation will be provided only in exceptional circumstances, such as when the board determines that probationary terms imposed have been excessive, considering both the violation charges and the supporting evidence, or when there is substantive evidence that there is no more need for probationary supervision. Here, the disciplinary guidelines provided a minimum of 5 years probation when diversion of controlled substances are involved. And petitioner was not required to do any sort of substance abuse terms, such as testing, as part of her probation. It was a standard probation with the ethics course. So relatively speaking, her probation isn't necessarily onerous or expensive. So nothing has been presented today to demonstrate why probation should be terminated early. There are no exceptional circumstances in this case that warrant an early release. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Trauma. The same issue with this petition packet. I will give you until Monday to submit the packet after you've had a chance to redact it. Ms. Park, I let Ms. Trauma make a closing statement, and I will give you the same courtesy. Did you want to take a minute for any closing remarks?
No, I would just really ask the board to truly consider my request for early termination. I think I have grown so much since this incident, and I can guarantee you that nothing like this will ever happen again. And I just want to move forward. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay. So this matter, the record will close on Monday, December 6th, 2021, at which point the matter will be submitted. Even though the record is open, the board will deliberate today. The record is only open to allow correction of the petition. With that, we are off the record. And Ms. Park, thank you very much for your time and patience today. You're free to go.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. Our final petition this afternoon is...
Excuse me, this is Ms. Butler, I'd like to take a 5-minute break, please.
Of course, I will. I'm going to turn it back over to the board president to deal with that, the logistics on that.
Sounds good. Thank you, Your Honor. We'll take a 5-minute break and back at 2:30. Actually, let's do 10.
Yeah, let's do 10. Thank you.
2:35.
Perfect. Thank you.
We'll take a roll call really quick to establish a quorum again. Right, looks like everybody's turning on their video. So I see Maria. We'll get started with you, Maria. Are you here?
Here.
Hi, Maria. Jake?
I'm here.
Hi, Jake. Cheryl? There you are.
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, Cheryl.
All right.
Jose?
In living color.
Hi, Jose. Ricardo? I don't see him yet, so we'll give him a little bit of Nicole. I don't see Nicole yet either. Debbie?
Here.
Hi, Debbie. Jason?
Hello.
Hi, Jason. And I'm here. Just see Nicole there. Hi, Nicole. Okay, and just waiting on Ricardo, Your Honor. There he is. All right. Ricardo, you back?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. Okay, Your Honor, back to you.
All right, thank you. We're going to pick up with the next petition. Mr. Ranawala, am I saying that properly?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor.
Welcome. I received the petition packet. I just need 1 second. It looks like it didn't actually open. Okay. All right, let's go on the record. We are on the record before the California Board of Pharmacy to review the petition for early termination of probation by Saifuddin Hatim Ranawala, OAH number 2021-110616. My name is Heather Rowan. I'm an administrative law judge with the Office of Administrative Hearings. I have been assigned to preside over this matter. Prior to going on the record today, we established that a quorum of the board is present. May I take the appearance for the Attorney General, please?
Good afternoon, Deputy Attorney General Nicole Trauma, appearing on behalf of the people of the state of California under Government Code Section 11522.
Thank you. Mr. Ranawala, you're present and representing yourself today, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And were you present for the prior petitions this afternoon?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so you had a chance to see the format. We'll do the same thing. I will begin with Ms. Trauma's history of the case. I will swear you in and take your testimony under oath, and then we'll turn to questions. Do you have questions before we begin?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, if questions occur to you, let me know. I can't give you legal advice, but I can help with procedure. I just want to acknowledge that I received an electronic copy of the petition packet. And Ms. Trauma, if I forget later, this petition also needs to be redacted. Whenever you're ready, we'll start with the history of the case, Ms. Trauma.
Thank you. We're here today on a petition to terminate probation. The underlying accusation against petitioner was filed on June 6, 2018, and alleged violations of laws and regulations governing the practice of pharmacy. The violations included commission of acts involving moral turpitude, dishonesty, fraud, deceit, or corruption, violating statutes regulating controlled substances or dangerous drugs, and or directly and indirectly violating, attempting to violate, or assisting in or abetting the violation of laws or regulations governing the practice of pharmacy. Petitioner was a part owner of City Center Pharmacy Brentwood, Inc., until that license expired and was canceled in January of 2018. Then there was a change of ownership and a temporary permit was issued for Central RX Pharmacy. However, petitioner was not on the permit for Central RX Pharmacy. The accusation against petitioner and the pharmacy alleged that in 2017 and in 2018, the pharmacy filled prescriptions for patients with generic ariprazole while billing as if the prescriptions had been filled with the brand name Abilify. The differential in price was over $1,200 per prescription. In addition, this behavior resulted in significant discrepancies in the inventory and drug stock because neither the amount of the ariprazole nor the amount of the Abilify acquired or dispensed matched the inventory records kept by the pharmacy. The accusation also alleged failures to review and update compounding policies and procedures and lack of adequate training and or documentation of training of compounding personnel. Petitioner also has a prior citation from 2016 for failing to maintain pharmacy fixtures and equipment in clean and orderly condition and failing to remove expired medications intended for compounding from the drug stock. Effective July 2nd, 2019, petitioner's license was revoked. The revocation was stayed. His license was placed on probation for 4 years. He's completed approximately 2.5 years of the 4-year term. To date, he's been compliant with the terms and conditions of probation, including payment of a $20,000 civil penalty, payment of costs in the amount of $3,500, completion of the ethics course, and quarterly reporting. Petitioner has filed the instant petition for early termination of probation, and included in his packet are continuing education certificates from June 2020 through June 2021, 4 letters of recommendation, which have all been verified, and a personal statement from him. I'd now like to mark as Exhibit 1 the petition packet, which includes the documents that I just described, the notice of hearing, and the memorandum to the board.
Mr. Ranwala, are you familiar with the documents Ms. Chama has labeled Exhibit 1?
Yes, Your Honor.
Any objections to my admitting these documents?
No, Your Honor.
Exhibit 1 is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. And Exhibit 2 is the underlying decision in order in this case. Request that be marked and admitted as Exhibit 2.
And same question, Exhibit 2, Mr. Ranwala, do you have any objections?
No, Your Honor.
Exhibit 2 is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. And the board members and petitioner have all been provided a copy with the same set of exhibits. And it's now petitioner's opportunity to address the board members.
Thank you. Did you want to make a statement, Mr. Ranwala?
Yeah, with your permission, Your Honor.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Whenever you're ready.
Your Honor, President O and board members. My name is Saifuddin Raniwala. I have been a pharmacist for over 23 years. I have worked in a retail setting for most of the time, and in past 10 years, well, now about 13 years, I did establish 2 pharmacies, retail pharmacies. It has been, it's a wonderful profession. I still practice 1 day a week, to complete my requirements. And, sometimes it goes over, 2-3 hours or a day as the pharmacist in charge, the local pharmacy owner needs me. When this investigation had started, I had quit my position as the director in the business and resigned from all position a few months back. Of course, as you know, I didn't have anything or any role in the second pharmacy that was established in its place, since I had already resigned and sold my shares to my partner. Unfortunately, when this thing came out, I, don't make any excuses. We were two partners, and somewhere things went wrong, which, I cannot go into further details because there may be other legal consequences coming, through that, and it may jeopardize or hurt in any way, my partner's position or things like that. But, I definitely know it happened, and I understand the consequences of the problems that, happened because of that. Obviously, I'm paying full price for the medication, my, or, the actions I have taken. As a recourse, I did pay about $100,000 to Medi-Cal through the new pharmacy that was established by my partner, or my then partner, to cover for the losses that Medi-Cal had incurred. I have been, like I said, I have been pharmacist for over 23 years. Before that, I used to work in, lab, etc. I am what I call a late bloomer because I went through so many different universities before I ended up in the right profession of pharmacy. Since I, was put on probation, obviously you understand that, the reason for me to quit the business was that I had established in 2015 a charitable foundation by the name of Sahar Charitable Organization, Sahar Charitable Foundation, through which a few of my friends and I are helping one school in India where about 400 students are directly being, helped, and about 1,200 students are being helped indirectly. Also, I had started to go into public service in the sense as volunteering for food programs, also, volunteering to visit sick patients in hospice care and long-term care facilities. Of course, I was not doing this by myself. I had my friends who were helping me with this. Currently, as you can probably see from one of my letter of recommendation from Peter Claffey, he knows me for at least 5 years that we have been working together to do weekly, food for, homeless program, where we, prepare home cooked meals, package it and deliver it to the park where homeless people, are in Tracy are allowed to have tents, etc. We do about, 80 to 90 meals every week, every Sunday. Of course, when I quit, my intentions were that I'm going to, serve more time in doing the public service area. I volunteer all my time. I don't get paid for this, obviously. I, When I found out about this, obviously I wanted to work at least 2 to 3 days in pharmacy so I can pay for, my upkeep and my household, as my 2 boys were going through university. My older son was at Caltech at the time, and my younger son was just coming out of high school. Of course, now he's third. My younger one is in 3rd year of political science at Berkeley University, UC Berkeley, and my older one is doing PhD at MIT. As I'm progressing through the probation period, it is difficult that you don't get jobs very easily, because a lot of employers are hesitant about hiring somebody on probation. Of course, I'm very lucky to have the local independent pharmacy owner who has known me for past 20 years, and he hired me for 1 day a week so that I can complete my probation requirement. I continue to fulfill all my obligations. I am most likely never going to be a pharmacy owner anymore because of my age. I'm about 57, and it's obviously very difficult to establish a pharmacy and get it moving to make it profitable. It takes many, many years. And I'm sure I like the attorney Trama mentioned that I have paid all my dues, and obviously, because I cannot work more than a day a week, it is difficult to have a good income coming in as well. I know there is no obligation for the board to give me early termination, but I request that I be given that chance so I can fulfill a few of my duties at home, and when I don't have to work 1 day a week, I can probably take a little longer vacation, go to India, check on the charitable work that is being done on our behalf personally. Also, and continue working without any hesitation. I can represent myself, and I request that Your Honor, you consider this, and the board members consider this, that I have been doing public service for many, many years, even before this incident and since then. Thank you very much. I am ready for any question that you may have, or any one of you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Trama, do you have questions for Mr. Raniwala?
Thank you. On your petition, why did you mark no to the question, have you ever had disciplinary action against your pharmacist license in this state or in any other state?
I'm sorry, when did I not do that?
On your petition for early termination of probation that you filed with
Oh, okay. So I understand that, this is already going on. I mean, maybe I misunderstood the question, because since this petition is already under a probation, I consider that this is, already understood. I don't have any other negative points on my license.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, your reference, Kenneth Costner, told the board inspector that he's had you as an employee a day at a time based on staffing shortage.
Correct.
When was that?
Well, I mean, his pharmacy is in Oakdale, which is like about 40 miles from where I live, 45 miles. So he only calls me when, he needs me, like, maybe on a Saturday, or, when he wants to take a couple of days off. But I regularly work for a local pharmacy in Tracy once a day on Wednesday or Thursday as he sees fit.
Okay. Have you worked for Mr. Costner while you've been on probation?
Yes. I had shown him all my, like I'm required to. I gave him the packet of the accusations and the probation requirements, and then he hired me. I mean, he had hired me before also, but since I was put on probation, I gave him everything, and he knows the current situation.
And did your probation monitor know that you were working at Mr. Costner's?
Yes. Yes, I had emailed them the filled out forms by Dr. Costner, and they have all the information.
Okay, so you've been working with him pretty off and on for the last 10 years or so, you'd say?
I have known Dr. Costner for even before I established my pharmacy. That was in 2008. So, I mean, I have known him since before 2008.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Now,
you.
your petition briefly explains that someone had complained to the board that your pharmacy was filling generic ariprazole instead of Abilify. Was that in fact a practice that was occurring at the pharmacy?
Yes, now we know that it occurred at the pharmacy. That's
Okay,
a fact.
I'm just confused about your role in that.
See, the thing is, I was a pharmacy owner at the time. So was my partner. I was not PIC. And actually, just today when we were going through the previous agenda items on 1765 or 1716.65, that, drug inventory should be, kept. And since these were a non-controlled items, there was no audit of each NDC numbers. Now, as I had mentioned before, my ex-partner, he established the second pharmacy after I quit. And that pharmacy was also accused or mentioned in the accusation. And he has also, I believe, he's on probation at this, at the same time as I am. Like I said, I don't have any paperwork, or I don't have any material with me, because when I quit the pharmacy, I was told to give, obviously by contract, I was not supposed to keep anything with me, and I left as, blank, without any keys or any records. So, but I would, since you guys, since the board found discrepancy, yes, I agree that there was discrepancy. As far as my role is concerned, I never thought that there was my role in this, but and I never came across anything that I thought that this would be an issue, because I went with whatever my ex-partner told me, as he was the, what do you call, pharmacist in charge, and we worked half days each, when we were working in the pharmacy.
So just so I can be clear, are you saying then that your partner was the one who was
No, I would not, just like before, when in my opening remark, I said, I don't want to say anything that, would be construed either, positively or negatively, because like he's also under probation, and, he has much more evidence, that than I do, because like I said, I don't have any paperwork or any contacts. I tried to contact the staff members, but I, never got hold of anybody. And the time that when the accusation were done and we settled for the probation, uh, the the new pharmacy was under a lot of pressure to settle. This is what I know from my partner, and he was told that if we don't settle, the pharmacy license will not go through, and he will have to shut down the pharmacy and just leave. So we had to settle, and we did what we could. But again, even so, once I was put on probation, obviously I don't have any paperwork or any defense in my cause that I can say that.
Mr. Ranawala, I'm sorry, I want to interrupt you. Ms. Trauma is asking you what part you played in the actions that led to discipline. So
agree.
are you able to answer that question?
No, Your Honor.
And why is that?
Because I don't know any details about the whole process, because my ex-partner, he won't give me anything because I don't have any materials with me, or I don't have any records to look at or review. But we did settle, I did agree for probation, because he was putting pressure on me, and I had to get this done so I can move on as well, rather than drag.
Okay. I understand that but you agreed to settle for reasons. I'm going to go back to Ms. Trauma, and I want you to listen to her questions and try to answer the question.
Okay, Honor.
You seem to be going off a little bit. I just want to keep us on track. Ms. Trauma.
Yes. Were you personally involved in the practice of filling generic ariprazole and then billing out for Abilify?
No, Your Honor.
Okay.
But we had a machine, a robot that filled these medications, and I was not in charge of the machine. We had actually hired a separate pharmacist who was overlooking this whole process.
Okay. So you didn't know that the pharmacy was filling with generic ariprazole and then billing out for Abilify?
Not at that time.
Okay. You learned it later.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Okay. Now, did you benefit financially from the pharmacy's practice of this?
Yes. Yes.
Now, you stated in your petition that you've completed a fraud, waste, and abuse training. Can you please describe what that is and what you learned from it?
Of course, just like it says, fraud, waste, and abuse. Fraud is, knowingly doing something deceitful to benefit myself or somebody else. Waste is, just, filling or extra prescription to get extra money without, any cause. And abuse is, of course, is even unknowingly filling or benefiting from billing of prescriptions.
Thank you. Can you tell us what, if anything, you've learned from being on probation?
A lot. It's very difficult. It may be a stressful business, but as a pharmacy owner, I should have been more involved, asking more questions, overlooking, the staff, or having even the day-to-day reports being done, so we can know what is being ordered by anybody, and what is being received and what is being dispensed. As we know that there is no regulation right now about only which person can order on behalf of the pharmacy from the wholesalers. So we did have multiple people doing drug orders.
Strike that. You talked briefly in your testimony about ownership. Do you plan on ever owning a pharmacy again?
Yeah, like I had mentioned that it's very difficult to just open a pharmacy and make it successful, and especially at my age, I'm 57 plus. It would be very difficult for me to open one, and I don't intend to own one or have a pharmacy as an owner.
Okay. What about becoming a pharmacist in charge somewhere? Do you plan on doing that in the future?
If my if I have clear license, yeah, I would like to, if I can. It's again, it's a difficult question because or difficult to answer, because I intend to work maybe 2 to 3 days a week, and to keep my bank account positive, and but other than that, a PIC would be required to be at the pharmacy most of the days, and it would be very difficult for me to be doing that as well.
Okay, nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, Ms. Trauma. Moving to the board, I'll start with Board President, Dr. O.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have no questions at this point.
All right, thank you. Dr. Serpa?
Yes, thank you. Dr. Ranawala, sorry, excuse me.
Yes, no problem.
One of the things that we look at in reducing reducing probation is how the probationer has done during the course of their probation, and any rehabilitation or signs of remorse. Can you provide us some information on what you would think to be qualifying for rehabilitation?
Of course, as I go through this process of probation, I always reflect on what I could have done differently when I was the pharmacy owner. What was my role, or I could have overseen, or I could have predicted something. And it's, every day when I am doing this, when I'm at the pharmacy, I take a second look at everything I'm doing, because anything that I touch, any signature I put on the prescription is my responsibility. And I definitely don't want anything to happen anymore, or, and it's difficult to say the least, that to look at any of my staff who's working under me, or my boss, and make sure that he knows everything that's up and up, and my staff respects what I'm doing. So yes, reflecting on this every day in every working hour is, I do that. I mean, it's automatic. Anybody who has gone through probation or who is on probation, I'm sure they will say the same thing, that it's never away from their mind that they need to take a second look at their behavior.
Thank you. That's all.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Patel.
No questions or comment. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Butler?
Yes, I just have a question about the time, from what I understand, that the quantities were dispensed during January 2017 to February 2018. Were you not working during that year?
I was. I worked till approximately October of 2017. And then I took a couple of months off and I had resigned as of November 15th of 2017, completely relinquishing my duties. And the escrow closed on the pharmacy the next year on January 15th. Oh, sorry, January 5th, 2018.
Okay, so you only worked like about a month during the time that all of this took place.
No, I did work. I mean, like I had mentioned, I worked, about 4 to 5 hours every day. And I was there in the, morning time till approximately October.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Yes.
right. It's say from January to October.
Yes.
That's right. So it's about
Yeah.
at least 10 months during that
Yes.
time. Yeah, because I could see that the difference in tablets were
Yes. It's exorbitant.
yeah, over 6,000, and that's
Yes.
millions of dollars that were
It's
made.
it's approximately $200,000. And like I had mentioned, I did pay to the Medi-Cal $100,000 through the new pharmacy, which actually Medi-Cal requested $110,000. So, and of course, I paid my fines and I paid my probation monitoring and all those. I'm still paying whenever I receive the bill for monthly visit. Oh, sorry, a quarterly visit from the inspector.
Okay, so at $1,200 a tablet, and the difference being 6,000, you're saying that was only $200,000?
No, it's a bottle of 30.
Okay, okay,
Yeah, so it's about, I believe, 200 prescriptions were filled with generic Abilify. Well, that's what I was told by my partner and the accusation.
okay. Thank you. No further.
So there were 200 prescriptions, and I paid. And when Medi-Cal audited, they found, they wanted reimbursement of $110,000, and I paid $100,000.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
All right, thank you. Mr. De La Paz, any questions?
No, I have no questions at this point, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Mr. Sanchez?
No questions.
All right, thank you. Dr. Jabot?
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Veal?
Yes, thank you. I have two questions, and I'm going to expand upon things that my other fellow board member said. One was, let's see, where do you work? Are you currently working in a pharmacy?
Yes, to fulfill the probation requirements, I am working at a local pharmacy in Tracy. The name is Harold K. Reich's Pharmacy.
Okay. And do you work there like how much?
A staff pharmacist. I work 1 day a week, approximately 9 hours.
And when this was all happening, you just said to Ms. Butler that you were working like 4 or 5 hours every day. Was that your normal?
I used to work when I was the pharmacy owner, because we we were two partners, and we had hired a full-time pharmacist to overlook the regular, pharmacy filling and all those things.
So you, the balance of the day, you would do like management type stuff, or?
Correct. I had to do the banking, accounting, go marketing, because we filled, for residential care facilities and assisted living, homes. So we had to go to monitor their, patient records as well, sign them off. Also, go now and then to do promotions or, get more business. So, a lot of phone calls, a lot of legwork, and I mean that's where things were.
Okay, and then
Of course, I won't deny that I did check prescriptions as well when I was at the pharmacy, but it was not the primary duty that I had, or that I had taken. Like I said, we had a full-time pharmacist to do those things as well.
so, and also Dr. Serpa asked you about rehabilitation, because I do agree that that's really what this is all
Yes.
about, to make sure that you rehabilitate. And I believe when she asked you that question, you said how you were going to do things differently going forward. But I think when we think of rehabilitation, tell us what you have studied or done to improve yourself so that you can do those things better. So what have you done in the past since this happened to improve yourself and fix yourself so that this wouldn't happen again?
First of all, like I was telling the attorney, one of the board members, I don't see myself as a pharmacy owner anymore, but because I work in the, of course, like I work for a pharmacist, and I want to make sure that nothing ever goes wrong as far as accounting is concerned or filling is concerned. I, obviously took the ethics course, etc. I have obviously started praying more. That's to make sure that I can keep my mental footing on the right path, because obviously it is very stressful. I took required courses. I completed the CEs. I took fraud-based and abuse courses, which actually I took one last year, and I just finished one yesterday, as a matter of fact, because it is part of being a pharmacist. So I don't have anything quote unquote special that I went and found that can help me, but the whole course of fraud, waste, and abuse, keeps reminding me that where if how many people get affected by this kind of fraud or abuse, and so yes, I am very aware that and
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Weiss.
Hi, Dr. Ranawala. Thank you for appearing before the board today. I just
Thank
wanted
you.
to clarify that if probation is terminated early, you hope to work more, but not completely full-time.
That's right. Like I said, mine, thankfully, how much a pharmacist gets paid. Our need as a family is not tremendous, because my older son, he is already doing PhD, and he pays for his own, or he gets stipend, and I have to only worry about my younger son, who's already in third year of college. So once he's graduated, he will be, hopefully doing things on his own as well. So our needs are not as much, and I have my older parents who live with me. I want to make sure that they are taken care of properly, and as you can see, I mean, as I told you, I'm already 57. I don't want to work too much, because I do want some time to dedicate to the causes that I have been involved with, which is our once a week food program, my charitable foundation that we help the school with. If I have a little bit of time, I can go to places and make raise awareness about the poverty and education need in India, especially because that's where I am from, and that's my upbringing was not very lucrative, I should say. So I kind of am very ingrained in there, and thankfully I have been given a chance to have good profession of pharmacist that I can make living without working 50-60 hours a week.
I understand. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anything further from any of the board members you'd like to follow up on?
Your Honor, this is Ms. Veal. I would like to ask one more question.
Yes.
So I think you signed a stipulated settlement, which basically says, as I understand, I want to make sure you're in agreement that you accept that you were part of this scheme that happened at that farm.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so you
because I
were part of
benefited.
it.
I did benefit, monetarily.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? All right, great. Ms. Charm, anything further?
Your Honor, I don't have anything further. I do have a logistical question with regard to getting you the redacted packets, but we can do that off the record if you'd like.
Okay. All right, then the matter will be submitted on Monday, December 6th to allow for redactions. Is that enough time, Ms. Trauma?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, at which time the record will close. We are now off the record.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, sir. You are
And
free to
thank
go.
you for the board. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Ms. Trauma, did you have a question in particular about this case or in general?
Just in general, do you need, when I redact out all of the personal identifying information and I upload those petitions to the OAH system, do you need any kind of cover letter or anything further notification so that OAH knows to send this to you?
No, but if you, I think that when you upload to SFT and you label it, just label them redacted petition packets or something, and they will be properly put into our electronic system.
Okay, and our typical procedure is to provide service to petitioners of any documents filed with OAH. Do you need a proof of service? Do you require service on petitioners in this case?
I think that because the petitioners are no longer here, then yes, I understand that they all heard that you're going to be filing these, but I think that procedure requires the service to be made.
Great, and I'll arrange for a proof of service to be filed then as well. Thank you, Your Honor. Nothing else.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Your Honor, can I
take
your leave?
Oh, yes. Yes, sir. You are free to go.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, I will turn it back over to the board president and Ms. Trauma. I believe if there's nothing further, you're also free to go. Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for your time and your patience today. Dr. O, I will turn it back over to you.
Thank you, members. and members of the public who observed or participated in the meeting today. We will now proceed to closed session. As indicated on the agenda, the board will convene in closed session to deliberate on disciplinary and other matters. As indicated on the agenda, members will reconvene in open session to adjourn the meeting in open session. That portion of the meeting, however, will not be broadcast due to technological limitations. No board business will be conducted. Thank you all for participating today. Members will begin closed session in 10 minutes. We'll be terminating the WebEx now to allow members to convene in closed session. Alrighty, we'll see you in closed session.